Megan had just flopped down on the sofa, a cup of tea in front of her and the TV remote in her hand, when she heard a car pull up in her driveway. Who could this be? She wasn't expecting visitors. Jason had moved away to Melbourne, and no one else was likely to drop by. She sipped her tea as she pulled back the front curtain. It was a police car. 4 decades in the police force meant she wasn't fazed. Interested, but not fazed. As the 2 cops got out of the car, she recognised Phil Arlott. She'd worked with him in Maitland for years. They'd been friends, though she hadn't seen much of him since she'd retired. As much her fault as his. She'd meant to get in touch, but just never got round to it. However, this wasn't a social visit. Phil's much younger sidekick was in uniform. Megan had been a civilian for at least a year. They wouldn't call on her for an unpaid parking fine or speeding ticket, and those were the only infractions she could imagine she'd committed. And she'd spoken to Jason on the phone only a few minutes ago, so knew he and all the family were fine. No, this must be business. She felt a surge. Megan had not been enjoying retirement as much as she had thought she would. She opened her front door before the visitors had a chance to ring the bell. Senior Sergeant Arlott, long time no see. To what do I owe the pleasure? Lovely to see you too, Sarge. Megan. She smiled at the slip of the tongue. This is, Constable Samira Kumar. Phil gestured towards the young woman beside him. Pleased to meet you, Miss Blaxland. You're a legend at the station. A legend? That's code for old, isn't it? Kumar looked mortified, and Megan felt sorry. Don't take anything Megan says seriously, Phil told her. She's old school, always taking the piss. Enough with the old, okay? Megan quipped. The awkward moment had passed. Phil was a dinosaur, but the nicer kind. Megan stepped back and held the door open so they could enter. I'm assuming this isn't a social call, she said. The 2 police officers sat. Megan settled herself in the chair opposite and took another sip from the cup she was still holding. Tea? She asked, gesturing at the pot. She was old school about that too. Proper leaf tea, correctly brewed in a pre-warmed pot. The 2 on the couch politely declined. We found a body, Phil said abruptly, up near Barga Swamp. Megan put her tea down and gave her former colleague a long look. Inspector George told us to come and let you know. In fact, she was wondering if you'd consider being seconded to the investigation for a few months. She thinks, we all think, it's your cold case. Megan's heart leapt. There was nothing she'd like better. She was bored and lonely in retirement, wondering how on earth she was going to fill each day. But this was more. This was vindication. She and that student, Jessica Weston, had been right all along. Nevertheless, she kept her face expressionless. What makes you think it's the Lyrebird case? Where it was found, and forensics reckon from the state of decomposition that it's been there for about 20 years. A woman's body? Yeah. Why didn't Inspector George come and ask me herself? Phil shrugged. You know, the inspector. She's a stickler. Bloody good copper. Always knew she'd go far. Anyway, what do you reckon? We'd all love to see you back. And you've only been gone a year. A year on the 28th of August. A fortnight ago, Megan realised. Things haven't changed much. I'm not sure that's any kind of recommendation. And it's your case, Phil added. You know it, and nobody else does. It was true. The Lyrebird case was her first as a wet-behind-the-ears detective constable, and the mockery she'd copped over it had been a big factor in why she had let it go cold. She'd been 40 then, old for a new detective. It had taken her years to qualify, trying to juggle parenting Jason with being a cop on the beat and studying. Her age had made her more sensitive to criticism. She'd absorbed the idea that she was a slow learner. Stupid, she thought now. She should have stuck to her guns.